In mid-2024, Semia experienced something so inexplicable, so beyond logic, that it defied all reasoning. At the time, Semia was studying at a college in Comilla and lived in Bismillah Hostel near Rani Dighi while preparing for her university admission tests. Though the hostel was old, the girls lived there in harmony. But a terrifying chapter in Semia's life began one Sunday, the day of her Bangladeshi pre-test exam. After the exam, she returned to the hostel and fell asleep while resting. She woke up around 7 p.m. when her junior, Mawa, came to her room asking for a highlighter. Semia handed it over, and later that evening, everyone gathered for chit-chat and gossip. Until 10 p.m. everyone except Mala. Semia asked senior Jui Appa, can you call Mawa? She's alone in her room. Jui Appa replied, she always likes to be alone. Seems like she's used to it. No one thought much of it. But suddenly a voice called out from Mawa's room, Appa. At first, they thought they misheard. But then came the same call again, a bit louder. The third time, it was so piercing and chilling that it sent shivers down their spines. Semia rushed to Mawa's room. The moment she opened the door, she froze. Mawa's body was half under the table, the rest on the bed. Her body trembled. Her headphones were on the floor, and it seemed like something was pulling her from under the table. Semia screamed, and the others rushed in. They dragged Mawa out, but she no longer seemed like Mawa. Her eyes were blood red, unbearable to look at, as if they were on fire. She answered no questions, only stared blankly, with a strange, cold, sinister smile. Her body was ice cold, yet so strong that anyone who touched her was thrown back. Even mustard oil had no effect. Suddenly, she let out a monstrous laugh, a deep, terrifying sound that shook them to their cores. The hostel owner and his wife came. Seeing her, they were horrified. The owner lit a lighter to show her fire. Mawa, enraged, blew it out with her breath again and again as if fire was her enemy, and she could extinguish it at will. The owner pressed her finger, no response. She was like a lifeless object. He said, maybe it's high blood pressure, mental stress, but his expression said otherwise. The fear deepened when he simply left, abandoning 11 girls with her. That night, no one could sleep. 10 girls squeezed into one small room. Mawa was kept in the room of Swarna Appa, one of the brave older girls. From there came strange, deep groaning sounds all night. Around 1 a.m., Semia started feeling a migraine, a pressure in her head every time she closed her eyes. Suddenly, that eerie sound came again. They peeked through the slightly open door. Mawa, who had been lying straight on the bed, suddenly sat up stiffly like a doll, like a robot. She turned her head sideways and stared at them with a chilling gaze and that same inhuman smile. Terrified, they called Swarna Appa. Appa, are you okay? She replied sleepily, I'm sleeping, relieved. They thought, at least Appa is fine, maybe we're just overthinking. Semia was about to close the door when she saw Mawa get down from the bed and walk to the washroom, but they heard no sound from inside. When she came out, Semia noticed something odd. She hadn't turned on the tap, yet her hands and feet were soaking wet. She passed by the dining room toward her own room, saying nothing, seemingly unaware of everything around her. Then she sat quietly for a while. Suddenly, they saw her talking to someone, but her words were inaudible. Then she went out to the balcony. A gust of cold wind rushed into the room, making everyone shudder. It was around 3 a.m. She returned with a towel, wiped her hands and feet, and lay back down. But no one else could sleep. They all sat in silence. When the call to Fajr prayer was heard, it brought a sense of relief. After praying, they went to check on her. She was awake. They asked, what happened to you last night? Surprised, she replied, what do you mean? Nothing happened. They asked again, really? Nothing, she said. Appa, I was just listening to music and fell asleep. I don't remember anything. Then they realized everything had happened through her body, but she remembered none of it. At 9 a.m., Semia went to college. When she returned at 1 p.m., she learned that the hostel owner had called Mawa's mother. She came and took her home. Doctors found nothing. She was perfectly fine. They also took her to a spiritual healer, but again nothing. Eventually, she returned to the hostel. That's when Samia remembered something. A month before this incident, around 3 a.m., she had been sitting on the balcony outside Mawa's room, listening to FM radio. Suddenly, Mawa screamed. Samia ran in and asked, "What happened?" Mawa clung to her, crying. She said, "Appa, first someone pulled my blanket. Then I saw 4 black figures approaching from the corners of the room. One of them choked me. I couldn't speak." Back then, they said, "It's probably your imagination." But now they understood it wasn't imagination. Later, they heard from the hostel owner that a Hindu family used to live there. Apparently, they worship dark spirits. The owner managed to evict them through an excuse and later converted the flat into a hostel room. After all that, Mawa left the hostel, and Samia transferred to her college's dormitory. What happened after that, Samia never found out.